Let's bring in Florida Congressman Mast of House Transportation and Infrastructure. We have even more harassment of Senator Sinema. She's a moderate. It happened in an airport and on a plane. President Biden had justified this as, quote, part of the process. How do you win the argument stalking people in bathrooms and airports?
Yeah, I've yet to win an argument talking to somebody at a urinal or in the stall next door. And I think it shows one of the main things that we see out of the mainstream media, a big hypocrisy there that shows that they own the radical. They own this narrative where if a Republican crosses the aisle somewhere, they say, oh, they're so reasonable. But if a Democrat crosses the aisle or crosses their narrative, then they say, oh, they're a traitor. They're a traitor to America. They're a traitor to everybody else.
You know, Congressman, we're talking to our IRS sources on the reason why the Democrats want to get the IRS to target just $600 in bank account transactions. That's a minimum amount where small businesses and companies have to issue tax documents to the IRS to report that income to the IRS. They're going after the tax gap. They're going after the businesses and small businesses and the independent contractors. Your reaction to that?
They're not just going after everybody, and those independent businesses and those small contractors, small businesses, taking away their 199A 20% deduction that we tried to do in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to make sure that they had benefits as well. But think about this. They're looking to fund the IRS, the agency that collects taxes. They want to collect more taxes from you to give them $80 billion more in taxes, to hire more tax collectors, to do more with that agency. It's fundamental, just fundamentally wrong for the government to think that they can more efficiently spend money than the individual with their dollars or the businesses or corporations with their dollars. And the other point on this is, they're bringing about the highest levels of inflation, which is the greatest disparity between the wealthy and those that earn less, or those that have more mouths to feed, or those that are on a fixed income.
And that's what
they
senators,
feel it the most at the grocery store,
that's what moderates,
at the pump.
That's what moderate senators Manchin and Sinema are worried about. Rising inflation jolts all boats. Okay, let's get to this. President Biden has been going after these two senators. He's saying if we had two more votes, they're just two people. When, again, you're right, they're worried about rising inflation. And they want to fix the nation's roads and bridges and water supply and broadband. You know, Congressman, let's watch what happened. Watch the president, watch White House press secretary claim this is free speech when these senators have been bullied. Let's watch this.
We need a Build Back Better plan right now.
We need solutions in the Build Back Better plan.
We knocked on doors for you to get you elected, and just how we got you elected, we can get you out of office if you don't support what you promised us.
Senator, hello, how are you?
I don't think they're appropriate tactics, but it happens to everybody. The only people it doesn't happen to are people who have Secret Service standing around. It's part of the process.
Let me be clear here, because I think the context of what happened here is very important. And Senator Sinema put out a statement this morning. So as she said, and I would reiterate from here, the protection of the freedom to protest, to speak out, and to criticize is fundamental to our democracy. The president believes that. What happened this weekend was that her classroom, her students, and the safe and intellectually stimulating environment she's worked to create during the years she's of teaching at ASU was breached. That's inappropriate and unacceptable. And I think the context of what happened here is important, despite the fact that, of course, the president stands for the fundamental right of people to protest, to object, to criticize, as they often do outside of the gates of the White House.
Okay, so we're at the point where the White House is now whitewashing and condoning stalking. So is it okay to stalk Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters? This is moral relativism. What the White House press secretary left out is how people have been stalked and harassed in their personal private spaces, including in restaurants, at their personal homes. Steve Scalise was shot at a ball game. We had Mitch McConnell, Senators Chuck Schumer. We had other senators stalked like Josh Hawley in their homes, at their homes. Nancy Pelosi was harassed too. Should the White House messaging operation step down? You cannot condone stalking and harassment ever.
Yeah. Listen, people shouldn't be harassed. The way that you win an argument is you go out there and you don't just tell people what you think and you should be doing that. You tell them why you think something. Fundamentally, government needs to derive all of its power from the consent of the people. For myself, I'll talk to somebody anywhere. If they do want to talk to me when I'm sitting in a stall next to them in the airport bathroom or something, by all means, go ahead and I'll talk to you and I'll handle that just fine. But I think this is the point that we need to get to here. Government has lost the consent of the people. There's a few people that'll say, hey, yeah, tax those other people and take their money. But that's not the consent. That's not the true consent of the people. Yeah. That can't be what's stood for. And that's what Manchin and Sinema are standing up against.
Show the media also justifying stalking and harassing in people's private spaces. Again, this is wrong. This has to stop because it's dangerous. It is wrong. The president's poll numbers have been dropping. So now he's turning to the far left to bully his agenda through. I'll tell you, people will leave the Democrat Party if this is the way they're going to play it, and they will go to be independent or they're going to become Republicans. This is not the way to do it if your approval numbers are dropping. And we got Wall Street already warning inflation is going to be a bigger problem than the Federal Reserve believes, and consumer confidence is dropping. So we have all these issues hitting all this at the same time. Go ahead.
And don't forget, it's not just public officials that they're condoning stalking in these ways. Remember, they're advocating for people to get, if you're wearing a Trump hat, yell at them at a restaurant, get them kicked out. Don't serve people in your establishment, things like that. Let's not forget that those things have gone on with Democrats as well.
Yeah, we get it. People are not happy with the way the former president handled things, too. But this is wrong to be so abusive and bullying in trying to get your agenda through. As you point out, Congressman, how about the power of persuasion instead of trying to stalk and harass to get your point across? Okay, Congressman Brian Mast, you're terrific. We'll have you back on again soon.